playing the game on this week's episode of Implicit Bias. I'm your host, Kevon Bordelon. We are in the Mr. Lester's top secret podcast lair. We've got two people at the bar. We've got the Rustic Renegade sitting next to me. Walker Griffon is in the corner. And let me tell you, it's going to be a whale of a good time in hour 2. All right, so we have to explain the game that we are playing this week because I made a mistake. I messed up. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, not necessarily to the listeners. I'm sorry to the people here in the TSPL because I gave Caleb some freedom. And this is what we ended up with.
You give me enough rope to hang myself and we're all going down.
I was about to say, you didn't just hang yourself. You put us all on the noose for this one.
Yeah.
So let me explain what Caleb has done. Caleb takes all the glasses during a couple of breaks, goes to the back, puts whiskey in them, and then brings 3 or 4 bottles out and says, I want to see how good palates are. Can you pick out what's what? And let me tell you, that's really hard. It really, it is, especially when you're dealing with things that you haven't tasted in.
Months.
I mean, this Russell's Reserve, I haven't tasted in quite a while. The old Ezra, that's probably a month and a half since we've tasted it, maybe long. It's a good one. And what we have is good. Johnny Drum, I love Johnny Drum. Love Johnny Drum. But when you haven't tasted these particular whiskeys and you haven't been drinking them
and then when you compound it, the mind games where I bring out an empty bottle and another bottle and all this other stuff, that's...
He says that like Sage has a mind. Anyway, let's go. Sorry, Sage. Okay.
When
Sage,
it comes to whiskey.
Hold on. Say that again, Sage, because we got to get your microphone on because Walker's not doing his job.
When it comes to whiskey.
Yeah, when it comes to... No, Sage, we know you're doing just fine over there. All right.
Trying.
So let's start with this, and then we'll get into topics as we continue to try and solve the problems of the world one weekly whiskey at a time. Gentlemen, first of all, what do we think of this whiskey? Walker, let's start with you. What do we think of this whiskey that we're tasting now, even though we don't know what it is?
As he sips it for the first time.
Yeah.
Definitely not my favorite.
I really, really wish we had a camera on Better Off Dead.
You want me to try to do the face he made?
Yeah, do it.
I don't know if you can. Yeah, it was bad. It was bad. It was bad. Okay, so you just said not your favorite?
No, not at all.
You look like you can't do the not my favorite and then make like the beaker face. Like I can't even make a frown as big as that.
Yeah, I'm waiting to hear him go, mini, 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 mini. All right, so Walker doesn't like it. Let's go to the bar. Gentlemen, what do we think?
I don't like it either. He brought out
What don't you like about it?
It's just it's I don't know, it's too much. There's a good bit of bite here. There's no real flavor that I can taste. It's just alcohol to me. It tastes like alcohol.
So a higher proof is what you're saying.
Probably.
Or a little too much spice.
One of the
Rye.
Old Ezra's a rye.
Rye. This one is a 114 proof. The Russell's is,
I'll tell you.
90.
The Russell's comes in at, 90.
Yep. And then we have
Johnny Drum is what, 105?
101.
101. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Mr. Broussard?
You good, yeah. I don't have much to say about these things.
Did you guess which one it was?
Oh, I'm thinking it's Johnny Drum because he took it from in front of me and I had to replace it with my favorite.
All right.
I kind of like this one, and I'm a little surprised because I think it's the Ezra, and it to me it doesn't drink like what y'all say the proof is.
I would agree with you that this tastes like one of those whiskeys that's at a higher proof that doesn't necessarily taste like gasoline going down. I like the proof on this. The minute I got the aroma off of this, I got to nose hump the glass for a few seconds. I kind of felt like, and I think this was Johnny Drum. But the more I sip on it, the more I think this is a rye, which would eliminate it from being the Johnny Drum. Mm. So at that point, it becomes, well, are we talking the Russells or are we talking the old Ezra? I think I'm going to agree with Jonathan. I think this is the old Ezra. Now that I've gotten a little bit... Walker, you just said you didn't like it. You thought it was... Which one?
Johnny Drum.
You thought it was the Johnny Drum. Which is interesting because you've had Johnny Drum.
And you liked it.
And you liked Johnny Drum.
Maybe it was his third glass is what it was. I don't know.
I don't know.
I did just put a peppermint in my mouth.
Way to ruin your palate. Walker.
That's
Way to
probably
completely
what, you know
ru-
what? That's probably what it was.
Killed it.
Walker.
Note to self.
Am I really the bad one right now?
No, you're not. No, Walker, we cannot take you anywhere. Anywhere. We can't even bring you to the Mr. Lester's TSPL. We just can't. Are you kidding me, Walker? All right, Caleb. What are we drinking?
Johnny Drum.
It is the Johnny
It
Drum.
is Johnny
okay.
Drum.
It is the Johnny Drum.
I did pour it. So this is the bottle that was in front of everyone. And this is the bottle that was up there. It still had some in it. I just wanted to play with people. But it is a Johnny Drum, and I love Johnny Drum.
Yeah.
It is phenomenal. It drinks so well. It's got the right amount of spice. It's sweet enough, and it's a bargain
Oh, God, is it?
when it hits the wallet.
It so is a bargain. And honestly, like I said, initially I thought it was the Johnny Drum, but as I sipped it and kind of let the psychology maybe work on me here a bit, which happens, I thought it was the old Ezra just because I get that spice.
Well-
It is spicy, and that's what Johnny Drum is.
And look, the next one, I'm going to tell you who makes the next one, but we have multiple bottles of that same brand.
Okay, fair. What, Elijah Craig?
Redline.
Redline. Okay, that's, well, the Redline makes all kinds of fantastic
Yeah.
stuff. And there's a couple, depending upon which Redlines you're going for. Like, if you go for the Elements, I would think that would be pretty
They're all
easy.
so distinct. You would
The Elements are. But the others, I'm not so sure of. The others, I don't know how distinct they're going to be because they're all a single barrel, which means that you get one bottle of one release and you'll never get anything exactly like it again.
And look, doing things like this, I really enjoy it. You know, we do this at the shop. My wife poured me Mastersons the other day, which is my, all-time
Yep.
favorite. And I'll be honest, I was sipping, I was like, I'm not feeling this. Whatever this is, it is not, I'm not liking it right now. And she's like, oh my God, are you okay? I'm like, what do you mean? Am I okay? Yeah, babe, I'm fine. She's like, that's Mastersons. I'm like, oh, no, there is no way. And she was, I poured it myself. And I was like, was my glass dirty? Like, I don't know what it was. And then I sat down, I started drinking. I'm like, okay, yeah, it's Mastersons. I just don't know. I guess it was what I had that day or something didn't sit well with it. And it shows you how sensitive your palate really is to some of these things. I mean, peppermints, that's not a wise decision.
No.
But like, if you have a good steak beforehand, if it's overly garlic, if you put steak sauce, shame on you. Whatever else you put on there, right? Don't put steak sauce on a steak. What is wrong
Dude,
with you?
A1 is the shit.
Chef Willie would never.
And we have
allow
to edit
you-
that out. Thank you, Sage.
Chef Willie.
Thank you, Sage, for number one, proving that you have absolutely zero taste.
I would
Second of all,
imagine seeing
for creating an edit for Walker.
Imagine seeing Chef Willie like sprint out and like Stone Cold or DDT him or something like. Poof, no sir.
Yes, we no, so we don't need a DDT, but a Stone Cold Stunner would work.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
gotta ask, is that on a well-cooked steak?
No.
Oh my God.
No, guys, I'm playing. Okay, A1 at the house because the wife. No, I'm joking. She'll kill me. No, when I cook, I like the taste of A1 for a piece of shit steak. Yes, but good steak.
There's
good.
another edit. There's another edit. Somebody, time to cut him off. Time to cut him off.
Double down. Time to double down.
Speaking of doubling down, Louisiana doubled down on constitutional carry. On and Sage, you used a different term for it, not permitless carry.
Permitless, yes.
Ultimately, what it means is that you can carry concealed without repercussion or without a permit in the state of Louisiana. Now, I'm a permit guy for this reason. Right now, and Donald Trump apparently is looking to potentially change this. Right now, if you are permitted to carry in Louisiana, you have reciprocity in what, 38 states? 38 states.
other states, yes, sir.
Which means that if I go to Texas, I can carry, I can show them my permit, and I get reciprocity. It's great. If I constitutional carry and I go to a state that does not offer reciprocity, right? Or I even go to a state that requires a permit that doesn't have constitutional carry, I'm in trouble. What Donald Trump is apparently trying to push is forced reciprocity from all 50 states, which would get real interesting because if you have a concealed carry permit in Louisiana and you go to California or Illinois, they would have to honor that permit, which is Really interesting. But that's not the point of the story. But Caleb, go ahead. You wanted to say
Well,
something.
and so like Louisiana is a shall issue state. If you meet all the criteria for your concealed carry permit, the state shall issue you a permit. California, New York may issue, meaning if you meet all the criteria,
They
it's
can
up
still
to
deny
us.
you.
Yep, they can still deny you.
They pretty much need a really good excuse as to why you need one.
I have a friend in New York who applied for his permit the first time and was like, look, I do all this business, I do these other things, and I need a firearm to protect myself. And they said, we disagree. We don't think you need the firearm to protect yourself.
Here's
denied him.
here's the interesting, because a story came out this week that I found highly intriguing. The Center for Justice Research did a study in Ohio, because Ohio just recently issued constitutional carry. And the Center for Justice Research looked at the 8 largest or most crime problem cities with gun violence in Ohio.
Sorry.
And what they found was that gun violence, and it's a very short-term sample size, we got to clarify that, but they found that gun violence actually went down. Now, the reason I bring this up is because we here in Louisiana have the same constitutional carry, and we have not seen it. However, what's really interesting in the difference between Louisiana and Ohio is that in Ohio, the cities said, okay, it's constitutional carry per state law. Well, it is what it is. In Louisiana, morons in my original hometown are doing everything they can to fight it because they think they know better. And we are seeing zero reduction in crime. Well, zero reduction, not in crime, but in gun violence. I find it just an interesting sample size. Who wants to, somebody at the bar, Jonathan, you want to chime in?
When you say zero reduction in Louisiana, have the scales been climbing in the last few years in Louisiana as far as gun violence?
Very much so.
Very much so,
Very much so.
correct?
Yep.
So if it's stabilized because of this, isn't that a reduction?
Yeah. If we slow down a 1% increase, if we ceased a 1% increase, that's not a drop, but that's no increase. So that would, by definition, be
It would show
decrease.
you the benefits.
It would start to show some of the benefits, correct. But the way the study was done in Ohio, they looked specifically at the big cities where they have the problems. There's really only one real big city in the state of Louisiana, and it's not even really big. New Orleans is like, what, the 60th media market right now or something like that? It's not a top 10, top 20 media market. It's not massive in population when you think of cities like Houston, Miami, Dallas, LA, New York, Chicago. I mean, you're talking metropolitan area populations of 6 to 20 million. New Orleans has a metropolitan area population of right at 2 million, less than 2. But the point is, that should be easier to move the numbers because you're dealing with less people. My thought is that because of the fight, you would see a much quicker reduction.
Well, and
if maybe they weren't fighting. And look, it's a hypothesis.
No,
I don't know.
I agree, because look at all the fighting they did. They tried setting up little school zones, all these other things to slow down where you couldn't carry. Because under Louisiana permitless carry, you still can't carry in a bar. You still can't carry in a place of worship. There are restrictions, right? So that there are benefits to having the concealed carry permit, such as max civil liability of $50,000. You have that when you have the permit. And these townships and cities are trying to restrict that and say, look, we'd rather you have, not necessarily have the permit, but we'd rather you not carry. Well, so another law was passed that said that they can't have a law on the books that attempts to supersede or take away from the state law. Because there are small places like Orneville here in Louisiana. Orneville has a law on the books that says you can't own a firearm within city limits. Now, that's been on the books since the early 1900s.
But you can't own a firearm in the city limits?
And that's been, it's never been enforced.
No joke. It's Arneville, Louisiana.
Yeah.
Have you ever been there?
I go to a gun range there, right? And by their law, the gun range shouldn't exist. But they've never removed the law because it costs money, it costs time to do this, and there's more important things they would do in their time. So the state law has now superseded it and revoked those. And the state did that to try to prevent places such as New Orleans, Shreveport, and Baton Rouge from infringing upon the rights of their citizens. something else Ohio has done, and we're going to go to Louisiana. Louisiana, a teacher can carry on school grounds with written permission from the principal. That law is on the books.
Much like a religious institution, if
Correct.
you have permission from the pastor or priest or whoever is in charge of that particular location, you can carry.
And look, the law has some very specific wording for this. Good luck getting that from a public school in Louisiana. The school board's not going to authorize you. There are private schools that do this, and they have authorization, and there's criteria that they put in place, such as a legal insurance of sorts like USCCA. But Ohio, there's a school district that has armed 70% of their teachers now.
I'm going to be willing to bet that their school violence percentage is 0
It is very, very, actually,
or
so
close to it.
there was a shooting there a few years ago.
And let me guess, a teacher stepped in.
Teacher didn't step in. There was a shooting. I think 6 people passed away. And it's a tragedy. But since then, they've said, look, we can put metal detectors. We can do bulletproof draperies. We can do bulletproof doors. We can do all this stuff. But at the end of the day, the most realistic and cost-effective means that we have to protecting our students is to ask our teachers if they're willing to do a little bit more. And look, your teachers already do a ton.
They do.
They shape and mold and educate the future of America. And depending on where they go to school, they shape and mold them a very specific way, right? So their job is not to indoctrinate, but to educate. This school, 70%, or the school district, 70% of the teachers said, I am willing to take an extra step and carry a firearm to defend the students that I love and believe in.
And I'm a huge fan of every state where you are taking this extra step being insured in the process. You brought up USCCA. It is one of those things where, and we've talked about it on the show before, heaven forbid that you carry and you have to use that weapon.
Mm-hmm.
That is a worst case scenario no matter who you are. If you are carrying and you want to use your weapon, don't carry. Please. You only carry if you never want to use it.
Yeah.
But ultimately, if you do have to use it, be insured. I mean, to me, and I see the finger walker, and you know where that can go. The real place where you should absolutely have it is if you don't have the permit. Because let's be honest, if you get into it with an attorney because something happens and you had to use your firearm, the first thing they're going to do is, were you responsible or were you some just random Yahoo who decided to use a firearm? Guess what? If you are insured and you've gone through courses and you've got a permit and you've got all this, okay, well, at least the person was responsible enough to take out insurance, which means that they gave this some forethought. They were prepared and trained in some way, shape, or form.
It builds the case before the case needs to be built. And when I was in the service, it was you do what your collar can handle, right? And in the civilian world, you do what your wallet can handle. And I don't know about y'all, but USCCA's wallet is much deeper than mine.
Absolutely. All right, we got the 1 minute finger from Walker. We told him where it could go. But we're going to take a break here anyway. Implicit Bias Hour 2 rolls on. Caleb's going to go back to the kitchen. Heaven help us all. Stick around because it's probably going to be a show. Have a great one. We'll be right back.